All right, Chris.
What's that?
Chris, where'd you grow up? Where are you from originally?
I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland.
And tell me about your family growing up. You had both your parents?
Yeah, I had an interesting upbringing. I didn't have a bad childhood. It was, I guess you would say it was confusing. You know, my father divorced my mother and married the next door neighbor when I was about 5. They still live next door to each other. It's literally been 39 years.
Wow.
They're directly next door to each other. My mother, back then she worked for. She actually worked for the FBI. She told me one time it was her job to print the 10 most wanted list. Back then there was no internet, so I guess it had to be mailed out. But my father was a totally opposite end of the spectrum. He was more criminal element, and I leaned more towards that side of things. He did and sold drugs, and I eventually started stealing drugs from him. And I guess you could say I met my first girlfriend, cocaine, when I was about 12 years old. And he found his coke in my wallet, and he never touched it again. But it was a little late for that. The seed was planted. Where I grew up, it was, I guess, you would say it's like 5-6 miles maybe from the city line. It appears to be a nice little rural, suburban kind of community, but like I said, it's right down the street. They're selling drugs on the corners, and it did take long for me to get mixed up with that kind of shit down there. As I started to get a little older, my early teens maybe, the rave scene was starting to become popular, and I got mixed up in that pretty heavily. Sold a lot of drugs at those clubs to the point where I was making more money than my parents, so I dropped out of high school. I got introduced to a lot of, you hear about the street drugs like heroin, cocaine, that kind of thing, but I got introduced to a lot crazier shit getting involved with that. Just meth and PCP and ecstasy, ketamine, all that kind of stuff. And as a matter of fact, my motto was, if it ain't synthetic, it's fucking pathetic. It wasn't a day went by we didn't mix 9 different substances together and fucking just crazy off the wall shit. But at around 17 I got my first place of my own, and I realized at that age it's an excellent way to make money, or at the very least keep a drug habit going, is to have a house for all that crazy shit to go on. These days they call them trap houses, but this was 95. That term hadn't even come out yet. Yeah, man, I continued that same behavior up to the age of 40 when I came out here to get my shit together. But
How far did you go in school?
Huh?
How far did you go in school?
I dropped out halfway through the 12th grade. I ended up going back some sort of external diploma program type of thing, kind of put a smile on my mother's face, but I never used it for anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, me and school never got along. That was a place where you buy and sell drugs. You know what I mean? It had no other purpose. Getting involved with that rave scene really kicked addiction in the ass, man. Like it kicked it in strong. I ended up in prison for burglary. Before I went to prison, I went through a program called Teen Challenge. Mm-hmm. It's a Christian discipleship rehab. I did everything opposite of what I was supposed to. I robbed the fucking collection plate. Straight up. I actually met a girl at the church, and we conceived a daughter at the church. Her name is Tiffany. It means appearance or manifestation of God. We thought it made sense, She's 19 now. Let's see. Shit, man.
So Teen Challenge didn't work for you?
It wasn't challenging enough, I guess. No, I definitely, You know, it planted a seed. As a result, I have a somewhat of a belief system. I can't say I lean in that direction, you know, but to this day, my nickname is Church, just because of my whole involvement with that thing. You know, I was helped out with the youth group a good bit, and I don't know, it definitely didn't work. You know, right back out to the same old behaviors, which, like I said, landed me in prison. When I got out, I've always been an artist. I've been drawing my entire life. You know, it was something that it's actually the only constant. You know, even if I were high, I would sit down and draw. You know, when I was in prison, everybody's tattooing, and I was always drawing, and they were trying to get me involved, and you know, I would like burn ink and that sort of thing. But I didn't actually tattoo in prison because I wanted to learn it properly, rather. So when I got out, I sought out an apprenticeship. You know, it's a difficult industry to break into back then, but I managed to pull it off. You know, before I started tattooing, I was drawing portraits with a ballpoint pen. So I just had to find somebody, and I was impressed enough with what I was doing to kind of, you know, give me a start, give me a spot to start, whatever. It didn't take long. It blew up. Not to toot my own horn, but I'm pretty good at it. You know, doing tattoo conventions and just I reached this plateau where it wasn't enough. You know, that first 4 years of my career, I was clean, but only because I used tattooing as a drug, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Like, I wanted to learn as much as possible. I wanted to grow. I wanted to meet people. I wanted to become part of like that whole community. And like I said, it wasn't enough. I had a dentist give me Percocets for a root canal, and that took me on a 10-year run. That one prescription seemed to last a solid decade. When I fell off the wagon, I had, you know, a $250,000 home and a half acre, swimming pool, all the toys. I had a girl. We had 2 children. You know, we were living together. And I always say we replaced the Christmas tree with a stripper pole when she left, and just kept it moving. She left. She took the kids with her, and I got back on that whole trap house routine. And this house was crazy. At one point, we had to pull the carpet up because there was so much blood all over it. Fighting, shooting up, just anything you can do with a house to make money, I did. You know, guns, drugs, prostitution, even housed illegal immigrants at one point. They gave me like $1,600 a month to keep them in the attic.
This is where?
Baltimore.
Baltimore.
Yeah. As a result of my behavior in that specific house in that neighborhood, I got arrested 6 times in 5 months. 2 of those arrests were house raids at the same house. And wow. I had retained a pretty good lawyer. You know, he was actually a lawyer that used to play cards with my father when I was growing up, oddly enough. But he was able to, I don't know how they do it. I really don't. Send money to the right places, whatever. But I ended up on house arrest. Had the ankle monitor on. And I was looking at like 6 years if I violated. So me and my infinite wisdom, I cut it off. And I ran down to South Florida. You know, that old saying, wherever you go, you take you with you. You know, well, I took me with me. I was stealing cars down there. I was doing all kind of horrible shit.
So once you cut your ankle monitor off, you're on the run?
Yeah. I ran for, it was about 8 years.
Are they actively looking for you?
Oh, yeah. They were actually chasing me out the back door of tattoo shops, you know, in Florida. Like, they were diligently searching. Yeah, one of those stolen cars I hit a telephone pole with in Del Rey. A transformer exploded above my head and caught the neighborhood on fire. It was 7 city blocks went black. It was $13,000 damage to the city of Del Rey. They found me like 4 blocks away. I had run from the scene, you know. I woke up in a jail cell the next morning with a warrant for cutting the ankle monitor off, and somehow or another they released me. So how I tiptoed out of the jail, I knew they fucked up. But you know, sticking with tradition, I ran again. This time I ran down to Key West, and that's again a whole nother world down there. You know, Duval Street is like a little mini Mardi Gras every night. You know, like you can literally panhandle $100 in 10 minutes. It's all tourists, and but it's extremely expensive to live down there. You know, but you can do what I did, and it's live on a sailboat in the mooring field. Yeah, it's definitely a dark time. You know, I went from this award-winning tattoo artist that you know, was really making a name for himself. I was getting invites, you know, internationally, to the guy with 27 cents in his pocket, living on a sailboat in the Gulf of Mexico, you know, just fucking trying to get by, catching strawberry grouper for breakfast. But ultimately, everything ended up catching up to me. And believe it or not, even though I was looking at 6 years before I cut the ankle monitor off, I ended up doing a measly 6 months for all that shit. Yeah, that's the lawyer. He's an amazing person. You know, I got to a point where the whole trap house thing was easy to do. I had the last house I was at, I had it was paid for. I only had property taxes, gas and electric, and I got a disability check for schizoaffective disorder. They actually offered. I didn't even look into applying for the shit. That's how out of my fucking mind I was. The point is, the check covered all those expenses, the house itself, and we were tattooing out of it, the same old shit, the drugs, prostitutes, you know, guns, whatever made money. And I reached the point where I had no fight left in me, you know. I was always pretty much of a fighter, good bit of violence in my past, and I lost every fight I got in towards the end there. I got a phone call from Michael Lynch. Michael Lynch was the original guy behind Felony Fights and Cage vs. Con. And instead of advocating violence these days, he actually helps knuckleheads like me get their shit together. And that phone call was, hey, if you want to come out to LA, possibly get a tattoo shop off the ground, you know, get your shit together, we'd love to have you. And that was all I needed to hear. I was done. I couldn't fucking take it anymore. I heard somebody say one time that desperation is a gift. I was definitely given that gift, because with no hesitation, I was on a plane in 3 days. I gave away the house and everything in it. I came out to LA with nothing. Didn't even bring my tattoo equipment because I didn't want the energy it held. I wanted to start over completely, and I did. I was actually, Michael owned a vape shop because vaping was really popular back then. This is 4 years ago. 4 years ago, Sunday, actually. Sunday the 30th, I had 4 years clean. I was tattooing out of the vape shop, you know. They had NA meetings out back. About 3 months in, I met my now wife. She came in, we did a little Friday the 13th special thing, you know, $13 for a tattoo on Friday the 13th. You know, it's just a little gimmick that it's going on in the industry for quite some time. I've never even done it before. I didn't want to, but I did it anyway, and I'm glad I did, because on Friday the 13th, April of 18, this girl comes into the shop, get a tattoo, and we were the same height, same eye color, same hair color. We are both named Chris, and we are both originally from Maryland. I stole her consent form to get her phone number. We're now married. It's amazing, you know, because along the lines of the whole recovery network and community and all, aside from those similarities, her and I are completely different people, you know. Like, she's also from Maryland, but she grew up about 45 minutes away from Baltimore. You know, cows and cornfields, and, you know, she was actually homecoming queen, where I was like the dropout degenerate. But we had one main thing in common that was really important, and that was that desire to just build a new life, a new healthy life, you know. And we stayed involved with the community, and the tattooing grew to the point where I'm at with it now. You know, I kind of wanted to get my career back on track and rebuild, and got to the point now where instead of the vape shop, we have another location. It's strictly tattooing. It's Interstate Inc. Instead of Interstate Vape. It's the name of the old place. Because my business partner is Michael Lynch, who owns all the treatment centers and all that good stuff. We have a program in place now where we can help other artists like myself with addiction issues get their lives and careers back on track. You know, like I said before, I burnt it to the ground, and I realized because tattooing is such an anything goes industry, you know, like tattooing will magnify whatever kind of person you are. It's bizarre, you know. When I was using, tattooing was my in on everything, you know. Where in the past, when I wanted to fucking get high, I had to scrounge $20. People would come over and just throw shit at me because it's the tattoo guy, you know. Like, it was one incident where the guy actually came over with fucking kilos. Like, these are people who wouldn't give me the time of day before, but because of tattooing, they're all about it. I don't know what it is, but it's always had that stigma. This time around, we did the complete opposite. I have pushed recovery through tattooing to the point where I have 2 artists working for me that are both clean. One of them I pulled from Baltimore, where I was from, so he could get his shit together. It's been a wild ride, you know. It really has. And here I am, able to give back, which was something I never thought I'd even be interested in doing. You know, I was extremely selfish, self-centered. But now these days, you know, I sponsor guys in the 12-step program after going through the steps with a sponsor myself. You know, like I said, our shop, we don't even have many clientele that aren't in the program. You know, because Southern California, a lot of people don't even realize it, but it's like the hub for treatment centers. It's huge. And, you know, actually, with the shop, I'm able to, like I said, do the complete opposite of what I did before. And it's pretty fucking amazing. It's been a true blessing.
Where were your drugs?
What were my drugs? Jesus. I've done drugs most people never even heard of, man. Literally fucking. You had, so on a daily basis, I would do heroin, cocaine, usually around a half a gallon of vodka. Pile benzos, and occasionally meth on top of that. But since I was tattooing, I had all walks of life coming through. The ravers would come over and they would bring a bunch of psychedelics and shit like that. And you know, bikers come through, they bring PCP. You know, I guess my point is, like, just massive amounts of anything, every day. You know, that was my routine for about 10 years. But
what's the secret to getting clean? Because you're clean now.
Oh yeah.
How long have you been clean?
Like I said, it was January 30th, just this past Sunday. It was 4 years.
What helped you do it?
What helped me?
Or what advice can you give?
You gotta want it. Plain and simple. Like I said early on, desperation was a gift. And I was desperate. I wanted nothing more than to change my life. I wanted to get back on track. Between that desire, first and foremost, and staying involved with, I realized at the ripe old age of 40, the importance of community. It's a huge part of it. It's just staying involved with a network of like-minded individuals who also want to stay together, to stay clean and keep their shit together. But, I think one of the things that probably one of the most important things is, I never thought I'd say this, but the 12 steps. They really help you take a look at yourself, your behaviors, past and present, and break down exactly why I'm running from whatever it is I'm running from to begin with. Does that make sense? Yeah, man. It definitely starts with that desire, and it has to be a desire to stay clean. It's almost as strong as the desire to get high. I say almost because drugs have a craving involved. Somebody like me would hold on to a resentment for a fucking lifetime. If I had issues with somebody 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I'm still holding on to that. You know what I mean? I got to come after you, and I had to be taught to let go of that stuff, because it only fucking, like the person I'm upset with or upset about doesn't even know that I'm holding on to this shit. They don't give a fuck. Aside from that, man, like like I said, I had enough.
Yeah.
That was the biggest thing, and as a result, I'm able to help others, reach a point where I'm at. Like, I started something similar to this, where I'm, tattooing at the shop. I keep hearing these stories, because while I'm working, I got other people who, we've got these crazy ass stories. They're clean now, and we start talking and we start bullshitting, and I started filming their stories, like you're doing, the Broken Crayon show, because even broken crayons still color. I thought it was a cool. A friend of mine came up with the title, and I ran with it. It was a metaphor that worked, man. Because people like myself and so many others are straight up broken.
What do you think the reason that drug addiction is such a common thing in our country is?
Oh, wow. That's, Christ, it's almost a loaded question, with the pharmaceutical companies. And, I had a friend of the family, like, my mother's friends and shit, who were, their kids were nothing like me. They grew up, valedictorian type, status, perfect GPA, all that good stuff. And as a result of like a sports injury, they're dead now because they got hooked on OxyContin, or, it's absolutely insane, man. There's so many fucking contributing factors, I don't care which side of the game you're on, it's big money. I've always said no matter what the issue is with society, government, whatever, follow the money, and it's, people at the top of those situations, they don't give a shit who gets hurt, who dies, Like this fentanyl shit that's going on now. Before I came out here, the 8 months prior to coming to LA, like I said, that whole trap house situation, I saw more overdoses in that 8 months when fentanyl was starting to take hold than I saw the entire 25 years total combined prior. That's fucking disturbing. To me, it would be bad for business. You know what I mean? Like,
you're losing all your
kill
customers.
your fucking clientele, but I don't know. Something about it. But yeah, there's so many reasons, For somebody like me, I started using when I was so young that You know, I was still that scared little boy whose father left, all the way up to the age of 40, if that makes sense. You know, because whatever I was running from originally was compounded by the next bullshit that I brought on myself, year after year after year, creating more problems on top of the problems I was running from. You know, and it's crazy because once I finally got clean and I came to that realization, I thought, wow, what a pussy. You know what I mean? Like, I'm running from something, you know, at the age of 40 that took place when I was 5. It sounds pathetic to me now that I'm on the other side of it. And I don't know. It's a hard realization for people to come to. It really is. I know. Because I talk to some of these younger cats, man, and I'm like, dude, you know, this shit is going to kill you. It's not a matter of if, but a matter of when. You know, if you do fentanyl, you will die. It's, you know, it's not like shit was back in the day. You know, when somebody got high and fell on the floor back in the day, we would laugh because we knew they'd get back up. It seldomly didn't rise to their feet. But now, it's all she wrote. You know? It's the thing is, I could tell these kids that are blue in the face. The shit's gonna kill you. I don't give a fuck. They don't even seem to. It doesn't faze them. It's bizarre. But I've been there, so I understand it. I don't know. It's a confusing situation, man. It really is. But I know of 9 people that I was close to that have passed away in like the past 3-4 weeks. 9, and you know that's. You know, I had my shop. I kind of teamed up with another addict who was making watches. And I had him do some custom watches for me with my logo on the face. Found out, you know, by opening Facebook that he was gone. Just so many people you end up getting close to, and like that, they're gone. Gotta cut my hair, gone. Fucking, you know, the list just, it goes on and on and on. It's really just, it's got its fucking claws in everybody. You know, and they're putting it in everything, which doesn't make any sense to me. You know, fentanyl's a downer. Why would you put it in cocaine? You know, who am I? Obviously, not that kind of businessman, because I don't get it.
Tell me about tattooing. Why is tattooing so popular now?
Well, when I got into it, it wasn't as mainstream as it is today. Got into it about 19 years ago. But then the TV shows. There's definitely different ways to look at that. You know, for guys like us, you know, at first we were like, this is fucked. You know what I mean? Like, don't drag this many people into this. You know, it's almost like an elite few that were capable. And
now it's so popular that it's almost...
Well, that was the other thing. That was the other side of it. Like, we noticed that people who would never get tattooed before were watching shows like Miami Ink back then, and they were coming in and getting heavily tattooed. So, you know, it had its pros and cons. But, I tattooed a Greek Orthodox priest. Like, this shit is for everybody now. I think, you know, self-expression, you know, a lot of memorial type tattoos. There's so many different situations where people get tattooed. I'm not really sure why, but I'm glad it is because it pays my bills.
What's the craziest tattoo you've done?
Yeah, I get that question a lot, and well, I got a fun one for you. My wife, as I said earlier, my nickname is Church. My wife has church parking only right here. I had this one dude years ago. I did a pussy on his ribs, so that the armpit hair is pubes. Just, you know what I mean? Like, just off the wall shit, you know. Some of the stuff people ask for is just downright crazy. Some of the names, they just want to get like their kid's name. The one lady, she wrote it down. Nosmo King was the name. And if you write it down and read it, it says no smoking. I'm like, what the hell is this? She said, I saw it on the way into the delivery room. All right.
I interviewed a guy a couple years ago, Mexican guy who was probably in prison, probably a prison tattoo, pussy eater across his upper lip.
There you go. Then you know.
I'm like, is that? I'm not sure what that's going to lead to. But.
Run it. You know, I had one guy who was so distraught, man, like, because his nephew died and he wanted to get something for his nephew, but he wanted his nephew's name across his forehead. It's like, dude, like, I understand you're grieving. I get that you're hurting, but really, like, you can put it on your arm or something, man. I don't know. It's crazy. I can't think of more off the top of my head, but I know there's some fucking crazy shit. I did a shocker recently. You know, these two fingers are covered in cum, this one's covered in shit. Like, you know, fuck. Yeah.
What would you say is the most important thing you've learned in your crazy life?
That's simple, man. Ride the wave. Stop getting in my own fucking way and just watch it unfold. You know, to the point where I'm literally able to take a step back and just process things and let things happen, if that makes sense. You know, we're always so eager to do and say and fucking get in our own way. And for me, especially, very impulsive, you know, just being patient and like I said, ride the wave, watch it unfold.
Beautiful. All right, Chris, thank you so much for sharing your story.
How'd that do?
You did great.